When first learning to draw a portrait, some book or someone is going to tell you you need to learn something called rules of proportion. These rules are a set of measurements for the average face. Now, the details of these rules vary, but I'm going to go over some of the basics here. The face is divided into 6 squares of equal size. What you have are 2 across and 3 up and down. Taking the top 2 squares, draw in a circle. And this will be the top of your head. Next step is halfway down, or halfway in the middle, squares, draw a line, and this is your eye line. Now, these rules say that the head is approximately 5 eye widths across. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we have the eyes. Now, the bottom here is the chin. And there we have the rough outline of a face. These rules will also tell you that the eyes are one eye width apart. This line here, the nose is 1/3 of the way up. And on the average person, the nose is an eye width across. Now if you go down, straight down from the pupils of the eyes, and halfway up the bottom square will be the bottom of your lips. The corner of the lips will be lined up with the pupils of the eyes. These rules also tell you that the bottom of the ears is 1/3 of the way up, or equal to the nose, and that the top of the ears is roughly aligned with the top of the eyes. The neck starts at about where the ears meet. Just drawing some eyebrows here. And what we're missing is some hair. Now this is the top of the head, it's not the hairline. So let's say the hairline is roughly right about there. Bigger hairstyles, the hairline goes way above the head. So according to proportion rules, you now have your average person. Now the only thing that's missing in this drawing here of the average person done in proportion rules is some wording. Wanted I B FBI, and you can rip this out and go hang it up at your local post office, because these proportion rules are generally going to hurt you when trying to draw a face that looks like someone specific. Now, don't get me wrong, these rules are very helpful in cartooning, imagining faces, or doing quick gestural drawings, but there's no such thing as the average person. And if you start out using these rules when trying to draw a portrait of a specific person, you're going to be starting out wrong. One of the most common forms of measuring when drawing is the use of a grid. Grid is basically an overlay of equally spaced lines forming a bunch of equally sized squares. In order to use a grid, you must reproduce it on the surface you intend to draw on. In this case, I am using the same scale. My lines are spaced equally to the original, but you can use a grid to enlarge or shrink what you're drawing by changing the size of the squares. Now, how a grid works is that it breaks up a larger image into a series of smaller images, these little squares. In order to use a grid, you start out and you find, I'll start with this square, and that's this square right here, corresponding squares. And it's easy to see where things intersect the grid lines. So in this case, I'll take that point and I'm going to make it intersect there, and I'll take that point and it crosses there. Connect the dots more or less, and I have the outline of that part of the head. I can continue this outline here by using the grid as a reference, paying attention to where things cross, overlaying grid lines. And more or less connecting the dots. We'll move over here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 squares. This square got it crossing a grid line there, and a line there. Look here, it crosses right about the same point there. Move on down to this square. Over to here. And there's just a quick example. I've outlined that area. I'm not going to do it all, because there are a lot of drawbacks to using a grid. Grid's a very logical system. It makes sense. Any math teacher would be happy that you're sitting here plotting out points and using a grid.